Do you want to read the theme song with me?
Yeah.
You can read over it real quick. And for any time it says like that thing with James, I'd like you to say your name instead of James.
Okay.
And then instead of that's me, we'll say that's us.
Okay.
Don't worry about if you screw up. That's
okay.
fine.
We're reading it or you're singing it?
We can like read it together, kind of like a chant sort of thing.
Okay.
But I'm just if you wanted to read it over first or anything.
Let's just go for it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear it with your ears? Can you see it with your eyes? Can you feel it wiggling between your quivering thighs? That thing, that thing, that thing with Giselle. Once every millennium, something will come along. When you feel it, you will know it, 'cause it's coming on strong. That thing, that thing, that thing with Giselle. Sit back, relax, deep breaths, no stress. Let me come inside your mind. I promise you it won't take long. The change will happen soon. You will feel something so special growing deep within you. That thing, that thing, that thing with Giselle. That thing, that thing, that thing with Giselle. That's us.
Sweet.
Yeah. Welcome to episode... hold on. Welcome to episode 44 of That Thing with James J. Asher II. I'm your host, James J. Asher II, and returning for her second appearance on the podcast is...
Giselle Marie Munoz. Had to think about that last name for a second. I've had a couple.
Does anyone ever ask you like your age and then you forget how old you are, especially after your birthday?
Sometimes, but not as often as when someone asks my husband, because we are the same age for like maybe 2 weeks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're born in the same year, but I'm like the first week and he's the last week of the year.
So so you're older.
Yes, I
You're
am.
a cradle robber.
Cradle robber?
By 2 weeks.
Not quite. No, by like 11 and a half months.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in the very beginning of the year and he's at the very end of the year.
Oh,
of the same
I
year.
see.
So since it wraps around, since time wraps around, it's like we're 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
But we're not. So him more than me.
Yeah.
Time or age.
Like when you're telling someone his age or he has...
When someone asks him what his age is, he thinks he's my age.
Oh, right.
He's not quite there, honey. Not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, his birthday's coming up next month and we'll be Twinkies for a hot second.
Twinkies?
Twins. Yeah.
So the last time you were here to promote the Austin Art House Film Festival.
Yes.
So how do you feel it went the second year? Because last time we kind of talked, you and Liz kind of talked a bit about like stuff you learned from doing the first year. Mm-hmm. What did you learn from this second year?
Oh, wow. Liz and I had a powwow at the bar like right after and we're like, okay, these are the things we're going to do differently. Let's keep this. Let's do this. And we can't do this anymore. So we had selected more films this year and we broke them up into 3 chunks, 3 blocks of films. And it seemed very long.
It was pretty long.
We had breaks, but we didn't like take time to take the breaks. It was like we had the Q&A. So we did Q&As after each block with the filmmakers that were there. As you know, because you participated,
Yeah.
Which we didn't do the year before. We had red carpet interviews,
Right.
which I think a lot of the filmmakers liked. But I think it was really great for everyone in the moment to hear what everybody had to say. So everybody went along and introduced themselves and what they did in the project. And then we opened it up to questions, which I think was really great. And that's pretty much what we see at all of the film festivals anyway. So I think we'd like to stick with that. I think our dream is to like take over AFS for a full day or even a weekend and just like boom, boom, boom.
Right.
But we need to make sure that it's that everybody can hang in there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not sustainable. Not substantial.
Endure?
Sustenance. That everyone sustenance.
Provide sustenance for.
I mean, you know, my dream is to, once we get funding, which hasn't happened yet, grants and such, like I want to have the film, I want to like take care of their airfare and their hotel and food. And it would be awesome to provide food for everyone. AFS does have a little mini bar. They have a beautiful bar and some snacks are available. Mm-hmm. And I think they used to have food on their menu. Which they don't do anymore. But we'd have to like partner up with somebody and I don't know.
Right.
So
some
like
type
we
of
have
catering.
Yeah. And there's people nearby and there's local businesses that we can get in with. And that's down the line for sure. But we want to start showcasing feature films.
Oh yeah.
So we're taking a break this year, 2020, and we're moving it to the beginning of 2021 in January when there's less things going on in Austin.
Right.
October is like Austin is awesome because there's so much shit going on all of the time.
Oh yeah.
All of the time. When I first moved here, I was like, this is an amusement park for adults. Like there's so much fun. There's so much music, so much art going on, so much food and drinks everywhere. Mm-hmm. I want to do it all, and we can't.
There's literally so much every week.
Yeah. And so January, you know, people are recovering from the holidays and getting ready for the new year, and I think everyone will want to get cozy in the theater. Mm. So that's the plan. You know, things change, and we have like 13 months till that happens, but we want to showcase a couple of features and maybe not as many shorts. Mm-hmm. Provide actual breaks in between, and I want to get food in people's bellies so they're comfortable, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that would definitely necessitate it being like a full day affair, though, right?
It would, because I think AFS has recommended that we stick to one theater. And I think that, you know, is just so that they can continue on with their programming. So it would have to be like a full day.
Yeah. Especially if you're putting in features and stuff. And maybe taking time between each block. Because
if we did, I wouldn't want anybody to miss anything, you know.
Right. Yeah.
We have film festivals that are a week long and things are happening simultaneously. And it's like, oh, but they're both really great films. At which one do I go to? And you have to choose.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to put anyone in a position where they're missing out on anything.
Like South by, where two films you might want to see are playing at the same time at two different venues. Mm-hmm. Yeah. God, you know the Ritz downtown on 6th Street? The Draft House Ritz?
With the two theaters as well? Yeah.
Right. I used to be a food runner there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. South by 2014. I worked like doubles clopening for like 2 weeks.
That's so fucked.
Like one day off. And there were some people that were really nice. Are you familiar with the comedian Hannibal Buress?
Yeah.
I got to serve him some like, well, I didn't serve him, but he requested some like chicken wings, and he gave me a thumbs up and was like really nice to me in the brief exchange that we had. But that was such relief because there were so many out-of-towners that literally would snap at me
and
treat me like shit. Like the help.
It's the worst. I think everybody should have one day of being a server or a food runner.
Absolutely.
So that they stop being assholes.
Yeah.
And learn to treat everybody with respect.
It's extremely humbling doing service industry.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like how Switzerland or Israel will have like, what's mandatory military service for the citizens? You know, they do that.
I didn't know they do that.
They do that. I'm pretty sure Switzerland does. I met a Swiss dude who said they do. But I know for sure Israel does that, where everyone has to serve, like, I think at least 2 years in the military. Everyone. Unless you've got, like, some, like, disability that would exempt you. And I think that a similar approach should be definitely taken for service industry, for everyone to know what it's like to pick up someone else's trash.
Absolutely.
And be treated poorly and work in terrible conditions.
It's really hard. It's hard when you're not getting paid well and you're in that environment. And it's hard when, you know, I was just watching an episode of Key and Peele. That's like, I've been watching them. I finally had a chance to just like, okay, season 1, here we go. And any chance I get, I'll watch a couple of their skits. They're fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
They are so fucking funny, and I'm so excited that I get to laugh at their shit. But anyway, last night there was a skit with, and it was basically Kevin came in and he's like, oh yeah, treating people like shit. Like, oh, he's just a server. Like, you can treat people like shit like that. And it's like, but no, because we're providing a service.
Yeah.
We are working our asses off.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting you what you want, what you more want than need, probably. But also, there are 30 other tables in here that need the same service. So it's just...
And you're definitely not getting paid enough, and you have barely any, if any at all, benefits.
Right.
During the handful of service jobs I've had, I always viewed them as a vicious cycle. You never have enough money to make a living, and at the same time, you never have enough time to find a better job.
Or do what you really want to do.
Or do what you really want to do. It is an absolutely vicious cycle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to a restaurant or any kind of service industry place, treat the people with respect and decency. Otherwise, you're kind of a piece of shit.
I mean, in general, like, can't we just be kind to each other? It's harder to not be kind to somebody, I think.
It is.
Because I've been mad, and it's a lot of energy to, like, purposely treat people like shit. It's not fun.
Yeah. Although it is fun, like, if you're doing it with friends, if you're, like, roasting someone.
No.
It's fun to roast if it's, like, a mutually agreed roasting. Like playful, as long as you're not saying like something intentionally hurtful. Like Emily was getting upset earlier because she slips into a Texas accent every now and then. Like she'll say something and she got extremely upset and she told our resident ghost to torture me while she's at work today. And it's like, well, sometimes when you're real tired or something, you might say a word with that certain twang.
Oh, but that's sweet.
It is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to have a twang.
Oh, bless your heart.
Never said that.
Well, let's take a quick break and get back into it.
Excellent.
I've got some other questions I want to ask from the last visit.
Okay.
That inspired me.
Cool.
Be right back.
See ya.
And we're back. Okay, so I want to ask some questions about you.
Okay.
I've been wondering, you kind of mentioned last time that your parents are immigrants. Mm-hmm. Where from?
They are from Cali, Colombia in South America.
So you're Colombian? Mm-hmm. Oh, they're both from the same town? Did they know each other prior to moving to the U.S.?
Yes, because they were dating for a little bit, and then my dad went off to go discover the world, I think. And then he came here, and it was one of those things like, okay, if you're going to be here, then you have to serve. Mm-hmm. And so this was in the 60s. And I think he got a little bit scared and he came back to Colombia and I think my parents had broken up. And my mom was telling me that his mom, my grandma Sarita, called my mom Lucia and was like, hey, so just so you know, William is back from the U.S., come have lunch with us. And my mom's like, what? Why the hell would I come and have lunch with you guys? Mm-hmm. Like, we're not together anymore. And I don't know if she ended up having lunch with them, but my dad came knocking on her door and convinced her to come back to the U.S. with her. I guess he had received a letter at home in Cali saying like, hey, if you don't sign up, like, don't come back to the U.S.
Right. And this is Vietnam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think. I'm terrible with dates and history. So he ended up going, and then
he actually served in the military.
No, he served in the military. He didn't go to Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Something happened where he didn't have to go, but he brought my mom back the day after they got married. They ended up getting married in Cali. Mm-hmm. And then they came over here and like, it was one of those things like, okay, Monday morning, 8 a.m. And they flew to Mexico. I think back then, like you had to go through Mexico to go to California on that flight. And like their plane, like smoke was billowing.
Oh my God.
And they had to do an emergency landing. And so like they had asked the airline, can you write a letter and let like the U.S. Army know that like I'm gonna be late.
Yeah.
Like I can't like meet the deadline because I'm not in the U.S. So they had to like the airline hooked them up with a hotel room and like people had to share rooms. So like the night of their wedding, they like shared
oh my God.
a room with somebody else.
Some honeymoon.
Yeah. My dad's like, what the fuck? And my mom's like, it's cool. And so they got there, I think the following day, and everything was, they like pardoned him and he signed up. And then we have family that was living in Buena Park, which is so funny because that's where I ended up living right before I left there with my family, my husband and my daughter.
Where's Buena Park?
Buena Park is where Knott's Berry Farm is. So it's like kind of the heart of Orange County, California. Are you familiar with Knott's and the Peanut Gang and Charlie Brown?
I know Charlie Brown, and isn't Knott's don't they make juice?
So I think their thing was jam.
Okay.
Knott's Berry Farm. Mm-hmm. So jam and cookies and I'm sure juice. Mm-hmm. And then it became an attraction with like a roller coaster, and then it started to expand. Huh. So that was not even very far from Disneyland, actually.
Is that like
neighboring cities almost?
Is Knott's like where Peanuts is set?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Snoopy is like the mascot of Knott's Berry Farm.
That's cute.
So Disneyland is like the Disney characters. And then I think here too, Six Flags is like Bugs Bunny.
Looney Tunes,
yeah.
Yeah.
All those.
When's the last time you went to Six Flags?
Man, did I just go? No. I went to Six Flags in like my early 20s. I was in college and we had some family in from Colombia. So my parents made me and some cousins take them. And I refused to go on any rides.
How old were you?
I was like 20. And I just sat there reading my Tom Robbins book.
Oh, what Tom Robbins book?
I love him so much. He got me like loving reading in college.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably like Jitterbug Perfume.
Yep.
It was probably that, or like Still Life with Woodpecker. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, my parents, they got married in Colombia, in Cali. They moved to the U.S. My dad was in the service for a couple of years, got discharged. They were living in Colorado. And then they moved back down to California and had 3 kids. And I am the third of their
You're the baby.
kids. I'm the little baby.
Baby.
I'm the very spoiled baby, only girl of the family.
Isn't being the baby the best?
I mean, it was. And now that I think of it in retrospect, I'm like, man, I got out of so much shit that I really should have not have gotten out of. That could have taught me so many like life lessons and habits and skills that I would feel much better about in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm like, it really was like everything was done for me, or I was told exactly how to do something. So for me, I was like always on vacation, but then like as a human being and an adult who is a wife and a mother, like I'm managing a lot of things. And if I didn't get that practice growing up, like I know that a lot of people don't know what they're doing. Although I always felt like everybody knew exactly what they were doing, mostly because we're going to get into some things. Like my parents being immigrants never questioned authority, and they were very like whatever anybody said was how it went.
Right.
So I didn't know how to do that. And I had all of these rules and all of these parameters. And so I just went with the way everything was going. So, so I've had a hard time actually transitioning into adulthood. And it's been some years since I've been an adult, but I just think of my parenting and how, I mean, my parents did everything. They really did everything for me, but they did their best, and everything was out of love and protection. And so having my own child, I'm like, okay, I see the pros and the cons and the challenges with certain things. So I'm going to guide my daughter a little bit differently so that she can have some of these skills earlier on in life. And that way, she can be self-sufficient. She doesn't have to depend on anyone and doesn't expect things to be done.
Like, I don't have to do the dishes.
Like, how come that's not, and to like do her part.
Yeah.
So, and like literally I'm teaching, I've been teaching myself at the same time, and it's been very challenging, yet rewarding and humbling. And, I don't think there's ever too late to do anything or to improve on anything or to learn new skills. But I know that we all have our different challenges, and I just don't want my daughter to have the same ones I had. But I'll be available for her for the ones that she has.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I know, like...
Are you the baby?
I am.
That's why you said it like that?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your experience being the baby?
Very much the baby. So I have a brother and a sister. They're both half siblings. My sister has a different mom. My brother has a different dad. And then it's a little complicated, but it'll make sense. So my dad is 10 years older than my mom. So they both had one previous marriage each before they met each other and had me. So my sister is 22 years older than me, and my brother is 11 years older than me. So by the time I came around, my sister's already out.
Right.
And then by the time I'm like 5 or 6, my brother's moving out of the house. So it was almost kind of like
you were the only
being
child.
an only child.
Yeah.
And also, I'm the only byproduct of my parents' marriage. I love my parents for sure. And I feel like the older I get, the more I understand just sort of the context of what it is, what it means to be a parent, understanding the age at which they had their children, me and their daughter or son, my siblings. And just, it's been difficult for me to become an adult as well, for sure. Absolutely.
Is it hard for everyone or just us babies?
Probably. I don't know. So my siblings.
Excuse me.
So I felt like, and I I certainly don't mean this in a way of like in a disparaging way of my parents, but they tended to be a bit strict, and there were some things that I didn't get, and still some things
100%
I still don't
same.
get. But my siblings both say to me, they're like, "Oh, dude, you had it easy. You had it easy," because they were not in their 20s when they had me; they were in their 30s and 40s, respectively. And I can definitely tell, like, they said I had it a lot easier and that I did get spoiled more than them. I wouldn't say I got entirely spoiled.
Yeah.
I'd say that my parents did the best they could. And I think they did pretty damn well.
That's awesome.
And, try to provide and make me happy while also not spoiling me so much that I don't know how to do things. Like, they made sure that I did chores.
Yes, my mom was very much all about that, and how much I argued with that every time.
And like, my dad taught me how to manage my finances, how to balance a checkbook. And like, when I would do chores and stuff, at the time, it used to cause me so much anxiety. Like, I would just cry. And I've got anxiety disorder anyway. But that would just like, when he would like sit me down and try to teach me fiduciary responsibilities, I would just cry. It would stress me out so much. It was just so scary. I don't know why, but it just was. But now looking back, I think specifically what he had me do was really fucking cool. So I would do housework, especially when we moved to Oklahoma, because I'm originally from Denver.
Okay.
Born in December 15th, 1987.
You're a December baby and an 80s. Yay.
And you're Sag, right?
I'm...
Wait, what's your birthday?
Cappy. I'm January. January 8th.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, born in Denver, and then when I was 6, we moved to central New Jersey. And then when I was 10, closer to 11, we moved to a very, very small town in Oklahoma. It's the town my dad's from originally.
Oh, okay.
So my dad was a stay-at-home dad for, I'd say, like half of my youth.
Awesome.
And then my mom was like the breadwinner. She worked for AT&T until it got broken up for being a monopoly in the late 90s. She got out just before they got broken up. And she had a pretty high up job. Like, that's the reason we moved to New Jersey, is because she was working at headquarters for marketing. And she was gone a lot on business. Like, she was working all the time. And my dad had worked all the time. He'd had several different jobs, but he made, I think like his main like adult career was a lot of accounting stuff. So he was an accountant, so it makes sense that later on, my mom said, I don't want to do corporate anymore. We need to reinvent our lives. I'm not happy.
Good for her.
We love New Jersey, but it's expensive, especially in the town we were in. And I'd never really lived around family before. And my mom's family is kind of like, they don't keep in touch too much, and they're kind of all over the U.S. and a few different countries. But my dad, like, that family's, a lot of them's in Oklahoma, and a lot of them are in that hometown. So they wanted me to grow up around family, and so we moved there out to the country. It's serious culture shock for me. It was very, 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 very difficult to like get friends, social life, because New Jersey, like when I moved to Oklahoma, I had an accent. So wow. And it was tough. The kids, they'd call me crazy and shit. Like, they were really mean. You ain't from around here. We don't like you. Call me fag, Mary worshiper, because I'm Catholic, raised Catholic, so on and so forth.
Yeah, raised Catholic too.
It's another podcast episode.
Yeah.
But we lived out in the country, had pretty big yard, and so I had to learn how to do yard work. I know how to do good manual labor, and part of that.
That's great.
I've never gotten a what's it called? An allowance. I've never gotten that. I always get chores, and I get paid for the chores. And he'd have me negotiate a price. Of course, it was like the easiest negotiation ever. Negotiate a price, and then at the end of the chore, write an invoice. Invoice him. He'd write me a check. He helped me open up a bank account, checking and savings accounts. So I'd take the check, cash it, so on and so forth.
Cool.
So at the time, doing the money stuff really stressed me out.
Yeah.
Even in high school, I wouldn't cry in high school, but it would get my adrenaline pumping. And but now it's like, that's really fucking handy.
Absolutely.
And I'm not so freaked out.
Yeah.
And especially now that I'm 31, almost 32, thankfully right now, I've got a little more stability. I'm not like scared to look at my bank account, because I definitely remember in my 20s, like I'm sure you can remember the stress of like, I do not want to look at my balance right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I just keep going, then I'll be fine. But if I look and see what's actually there or not there, then...
What's there or not there? Let me see what time we're at here. You want to take another quick break?
Sure.
Awesome. Man, this is going by fast. We're back again.
Hi. And can I take something all the way back to your first question that I didn't really answer?
Absolutely.
About how do I feel how the second Austin Art House Film Festival was? I think it was great. I think we had quality work. I just wanted more people to be there.
Right.
The first year was so exciting. I was so excited. We were just doing this experiment, and people came out, and like the lobby was packed. And we were so excited. So I wanted it to be like out the doors.
Right.
We did do it on a Monday. We did it like, we started really early at 5:30. So I know that some circumstances weren't the same, but I was like, I want like everybody to be here.
Full house.
Full house.
Yeah.
We didn't do bad at all. I mean, people were there, and we got our ticket number sales from the AFS office, and it was good. It was great. I also had been like doing back-to-back theater productions all year, and had a show that weekend, 4 shows that weekend, and then like woke up and was like, okay, here's the next thing. So I think I was out of it. I think by the end of the night I was like, see, and like feeling terrible. But I think overall it was a great event, and we have new people in our community. We are building this beautiful community of filmmakers and art lovers, and so excited for year 3. So excited.
It was really cool getting to meet people from all around.
Yeah. What was your experience being there? And I'm sure you've gone to a few film festivals. Or maybe
Not
you
really.
haven't. Okay.
No. I made acquaintance with a few of the other filmmakers, and I ran into some people I know from here around town, it's always great to run into someone you know and get along with.
Yes, absolutely.
But I like that. I've got new friends like on Instagram basically, and it's nice to know people. I like to know people in places, because you never know when you might end up somewhere.
Yo, for sure.
You know?
It's like one of the best things, I think, is having friends everywhere.
Absolutely.
And then you get to rendezvous with them.
Oh, yeah.
Over there.
And if like sometimes if you get like in some kind of layover or something, it's like, I need somewhere to crash maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah, I thought it was a great experience. And I got to meet like people from Brazil.
Yes.
Which was awesome. Some Canadians.
Yep.
It was awesome. So
cool.
I had a great time. I really enjoyed it.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to ask you about 2 subjects.
Okay.
New York and acting. Mm-hmm. So you lived in New York for a time, right?
For a hot second, I got to go to school. Can you tell I got to go to school in New York? Yes.
So what brought you out there, and like When were you there? How long?
So, I'm going to tie in that other subject, acting. Mm-hmm. Growing up, I was a performer. I grew up in a family of artists. My father is a painter. My brothers are musicians. And I was a dancer. So performing was a big part of my life, and I enjoyed it very much. And somewhere in my childhood, I don't know if it was like watching Star Search. I was like, not that actors went on Star Search, but I was like, I want to be an actor. I want to be on stage. I want to be in the movies. I want to do commercials. And there was just something about it that I'm like, I want to do that. All growing up. But I was actually very scared to do it. Mm-hmm. And I took a couple acting classes in college that didn't go anywhere. And I think it was just good for me to see, like, wow, other people really know what they're doing. And they're very good at it. Cool. Maybe it'll rub off on me. I graduated from college with a degree in communications in the entertainment studies. Mm-hmm. So I got to learn about public relations, about the music industry, a little bit about journalism. And I was always like enthralled with the biz and entertainment and storytelling. And I lived in Southern California, so it was very close by. Mm-hmm. While I was in college, my cousin, what up, Janine? She and I were very close growing up, and we still are. I love my cousins. They were a big part of my upbringing, and so we were close, and she was doing a bunch of extra work.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what's that? That sounds so exciting. So she got me into it, and like I would just see these pictures of her, and she'd be on cool sets, and she was in the SAG nominating committee, and we'd go to all the Q&As, and sometimes we'd meet people, and other times we were just there, and that was just so exciting for me. So I got into it. And then I got into SAG, just doing a handful of like smaller projects that in California, it's a union state. So instead of there being, as in Texas, a bunch of non-union actors doing union work, first they bring in union actors to do the union work, and then they fill in the rest. So anyway, I was a non-union extra. And I got to work with my dog. I love my dog. Tyson was my boy. I got him in 6th grade. He passed away when I was, I think, in early college years. But I got to take him to set. And he had, catering is, when you go on a good set, the catering is the shit.
It's the best thing.
It's so wonderful. So my dog got to eat that food. And he was in his like last, not days, but his later on in his life. And he got, I don't know, I'm not speaking proper English, but he was treated very well on set. There was like 7 of us. And it was that one movie with Jennifer, what's her last name? Yes. Mm-hmm. And Ben Affleck. It was a superhero movie, I think.
The Shadow?
Elektra, I think. Elektra.
I don't know. I'm familiar with that one. Elektra.
So look into it. We'll both look into it because I don't even know if I've seen the movie. But anyway, we get to do a few days there, and it was really great. And with the extra work, you have to work a certain amount of non-union or a certain amount of union projects before you can pay in to be in the union. And so that's what I did. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I want to go to all the movies, and I want to get the movies sent to my house, just like my cousin did. Like that was why I wanted to be in the union. It wasn't like, I'm going to be a working actor and be in like incredible projects. I wasn't thinking that far. So I became a union member like 15 years ago and ended up getting married, having a baby, and moving to Austin, Texas. And I wasn't acting. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was a stay-at-home mom. And then my husband's also an artist, and my husband's an artist. He's a visual artist. His name is Kevin Munoz. Beautiful work. And I turned 30, and he was like, baby, happy birthday. Listen, I know that you've been wanting to act. Why don't you take acting lessons? And so for my birthday, on my 30th birthday, that night, I went and took my first acting lesson class, and it was at the State Theater. Mm-hmm. The Actors School is what they're called now, and they moved over to the ACC Highland. Mm-hmm. But I took a handful of classes with that program first, like when I was 30. So I thought it was really cool. My husband was very supportive of me finding something that I wanted to do, giving myself time to do it, to like fulfill this creative need that I had. I needed to fulfill this thing within me that I wasn't getting. And I was at home with a baby, and I wasn't working. Did
you feel like a sort of like a tug on your heart when you weren't doing it? Did you ever have that kind of feeling like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that tug when I see other people doing it and doing it well. And I'm like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. Like,
it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. But I hadn't really done much. So I knew that that's where I wanted to spend my time and my energy, was to like build a craft in that type of storytelling. Mm-hmm. So I started doing that. And then I started looking around at like, okay, what is Austin like? What is their acting community like? What are they up to? What are they filming here? So slowly I started learning about the community here and trying to figure out where I fit in that. And then I went to a workshop that SAG put on, and it was one evening with this gentleman from New York City. His name is Tom Todoroff. And I sat in this workshop and I saw 3 people do a monologue. I don't even know if I knew what a monologue was. I'm sure I did. But it was probably new to me. And everything he was saying was making me cry. Because it was about living life and being like your authentic self, mm-hmm. and fighting for what you want and doing the work. And I'm like, these are all things that I need in my life right now. So I went home to my husband and I was crying. I'm like, there's this thing where I can go to New York for 1 week and I can take all these classes from all these professionals. And I think like, I really want to do this. And I know, like, I don't know how I can do it, but I really want to. And my husband is just like, has a heart of gold. And I know before we got married, he liked me for a really long time and was really patient with me. Until like one day I was like, yeah, you're the one that I want to like make dinner and like, be with. So he's always been like a go Giselle, like pro Giselle. And I think that's very cool. So he was like, well, then if you want to do it, I think you should do it. So it was like, oh my gosh, I've never been away from my family. I'm going to be gone for a whole week. I'm going to New York City, which I loved. And I had gone as a child. I had family there. And in college, my friend Summer Parker and I would go and just like see bands, but we didn't really know where to go in New York. So we would just wander around and like see the art. And it was cool. And then I got a job at Home Slice Pizza. Somewhere along the like finding time to take acting classes, I got a job. And it was the first job that I had since being a parent. So my daughter was in kindergarten by then. And I was like, I need to learn how to speak to other adults because I don't know how to be with other people right now. Yeah. And I got a job at Home Slice Pizza. And there's this incredible perk that if you've been there for a year or so, you go to New York. They take you to New York. They take care of everything. You go on a food tour. You eat your way through the city. You get to learn about the bona fide businesses that are there, the people that run them. And that's what Home Slice is. So they're like, well, let's go to the motherland. Mm-hmm. Jen Strickland is from upstate New York. And they're like, this is where it's from. Home slice is her childhood. Her husband, Joseph, and their partner, Terry, created this place. I was already going there so much as a customer and participated in one of their carnival hands on an eggplant sub. Stood there for 13 hours because I was gonna get food for my family for a whole year. Like, that's how I was like, how can I take care of my family? I know. I'll stand in the cold for many, many hours and I will win. I will be a winner and we will have free pizza for a year. Didn't win, but I did win because I made friends out of not so much the people I was holding the eggplant sub with, but with the people that worked there. I'm like, these people are awesome. I love them all and I want to hang out with them. A year later, I finally went in to go turn in my application and have an interview, and they hired me, and I got to go. I don't know why I say it like that, but I think it's because it's more exciting. I got to go and do this.
That's a really cool thing. You don't get it at your job.
Right.
Yeah.
So I loved New York, and I remember calling my family and going, I was in Brooklyn. Carroll Gardens is my favorite. It's so dreamy. And called my parents. I probably didn't call my parents. I called my husband and daughter and was crying and saying, one day we're going to live here. So I think I did that before I ended up going to, I have to get my timeline straight. But yeah, I went to New York with Home Slice Pizza, fell in love with New York City. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up, my husband was like, do the acting thing, go to New York for a week. So I'm contradicting myself because when I was in New York with Home Slice Pizza, I was away from my family. So anyway, it had been a really long time since I was away from my family to be gone for a whole week to go to New York City. But I had friends there and I had a place to stay. And I had this incredible experience where I got to work with professionals in the industry that are working actors and coaches on Broadway, in film, on stage, doing all sorts of cool shit, and came home just like, oh my, I don't know what just happened, but I think I'm like waking up for the first time in my life.
Ooh.
I think I've been asleep this whole time. And I met some incredible people that summer, and Tom and his people, they were lovely and we kept in touch. And so this was in 2013. And they were like, hey, so we're getting ready to start our conservatory for the next year. And we really think that you should come and do it. And I'm like, that's funny. You guys are so sweet. But how the hell am I going to do that? Number one, I'm a mom. Mm-hmm. Number two, I'm not. I don't have money saved up to go to New York and go to school in New York and live in New York. And yeah, I'm a mom. So
right.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet. But I mean, my family's not going to move to New York, so I'm not going to be able to do it. And then lots of thinking and lots of conversations with them and lots of conversations with my husband and like talking to my parents about this huge thing. And they accepted me into their conservatory. I picked up 3 jobs, and my husband and I made an agreement that I would go and live this incredible life and come home and we'd continue on. So I was in the 3rd ensemble of the Tom Todoroff Acting Conservatory. So it was a relatively new school. It was in the heart of Manhattan in Midtown. And my family said, go, mama, go. We love you. Come back soon. Have a wonderful time. There were so many conversations about them coming with me, with maybe my daughter just coming with me. And it was decided that they're going to be home here, mm-hmm. comfortable in my daughter's rhythm of the school that she absolutely loves. Mm-hmm. And I learned how to live in New York City by myself. I was having a long distance relationship with my husband and daughter. And I was a 30-year-old woman doing something for herself for the first time. I was like 33 or 34. Mm-hmm. And I lived in New York City for 8 months. And I came home once a month to just like touch my family and like, we're here. We're here, right? Like, I love you. We're good. Do your thing. Go get them. Take care of yourself. And it was really fucking hard, but it was all out of love. And it was all out of also teaching, again, my daughter and myself at the same time to not live other people's expectations and to do anything that you want and that you can have anything you want. You just have to work for it. So my daughter will never think that because she's a mom that she can't do anything.
Yeah.
She will never think that. She got an iPad. She herself bought an iPad. I don't know why we made her buy one. But I remember she had some money saved up, and I mean, we should have just done it. But so I got to see her every morning. We woke up together, and she was just getting into the Harry Potter books. So throughout the whole 2 years, I would read Harry Potter to her at night. And it was like 90% of the time I could read a bedtime story to her. Mm-hmm. And then she would follow along. So she would have a book. I'd get the book from the library. She would have a book. And we'd read together. So that's how we sent letters and boxes of stuff to each other. Like, we had to get creative about keeping our relationship thriving. Mm-hmm. And there were times where it was really exciting, and there were times where it was really sad. The program is heavy. It's Monday through Friday, and it's awesome. So part of the reason why my husband was like, I don't know if it would be a good idea for us to go, because you wouldn't be able to focus on your rigorous schedule and all of the work that you need to do. And that was the right thing to do, I think, for that, so that I could be focused on my work. And I made friends that I have lifelong friends. And man, I was like thinking of a way to not have to pay rent.
Right.
And I was trying so hard to be a house sitter, like a professional house sitter.
Yeah.
And dog sitter. And it was so hard to tap into that market.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cared. I mean, I had like profiles and like me holding chickens, taking care, pictures of me taking care of all the animals that I ever have in my life. To be like, I'm trustworthy and will totally care for your place and your animals. Nobody cared. Too many of us trying to do that, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's got to be a way to live in New York and not like be totally like
somehow like have some kind of like survivable rent.
And survive. More than survive. You know what I mean? Like thrive. Yeah. So I'm jumping a little bit, but my first year in New York, I was all about learning how to live in New York and surviving. And then my second year, I fucking had it made. I had an awesome little teeny tiny room that was furnished in the heart of Chelsea. I didn't have to like take the subway anywhere. Like, I could walk everywhere. I got a job at a restaurant. It was the only restaurant that like gave me the time of day, and it was right before the holidays. And I was like, well, I have to go home once a month, and I'm home for the holidays, and I'm home for summer. And so the weekends were the only time I was working there. And they're like, okay. And they gave me all the time that I needed to not be there. And it was a pain in the ass, because I lived in Bushwick with a friend who I met at Home Slice, and she was living in New York at the time. She just moved back to Texas. Hi, Danny. And So it was nice to have that little piece of home or familiarity when I was there that first year.
Yeah.
But we lived in Bushwick, and so taking the L train in the middle of the night was really hard because most of the time it wasn't running, and if it did, it wouldn't hit all the stops, and it took a really long time to get home. And somehow I kept the job over the summer, but I had gotten a really incredible deal in Chelsea, and I kept the job, and it turns out that restaurant was right around the corner from my apartment. So I could walk there in 5 minutes, and I did not know that I would end up in that room, you know?
Right.
So I felt pretty taken care of that second year, but it was really cool to figure out how to live in New York. And like, I felt like I didn't have heating the first year.
Oh God.
Or if we did, it just wasn't in my room. Or, I mean, I slept on the floor. Like, I didn't have a bed those first couple of nights, and it was rough. And like trying to bring all my stuff from Austin that I like thought I really needed, and like schlepping all of that stuff, and on the subway. I love the subway, but like when you have a shitload of stuff, and I'm wearing like dresses and coats on coats because the winter's coming, and I want to look cute. Like I had all my shoes and everything that first year, and I was like, this is too much. Like you can't do this. I mean, people do that in New York, but not when you're like just there temporarily. Like
right.
I can't have like my outfits matching and my cute shoes. Like on that second year, I was like sweats and like Adidas, and I'm good. And it felt nice to be comfortable.
Living like that is like such an education, because it kind of like teaches you that, you know, we talked about like wanting to thrive there, but that lesson right there is teaching you survival.
Yeah.
So, you know, like if you have to move somewhere, like, you know, there are things you don't really need. You know what you do need. You know, you can survive in a cold space. You know, you can survive on the floor. You know, you can find a place, find people, find work and stuff like that.
But you don't know it until you tried all the other things, or you know, like you fall into that by default. Like, oh, this is the only thing that works, or this is the only thing that like isn't killing me right now.
Yeah. It's like for like anything in life, the only way you really find the right thing to do is by exhausting all the wrong options.
Yeah, that you've already done. Exactly.
That you've already done.
Exactly.
It's like, where the fuck didn't I learn this already?
Yeah.
I do want to ask a bit about the Todorov stuff.
Yes.
Do you mind if I reset this
Let's
up
do
real
it.
quick? Okay. So I want to ask you about the experience, like, what's Tom Todorov's approach to acting?
So Tom is a self-made man. He's got a lot of talent and intelligence and heart, and has worked his way through, like being turned away from Juilliard because they're like, boy, you need some speech. Mm-hmm. You need to get into some speech classes, to like a few years later, people from around the world are calling him to be a speech coach for professionals on set because he worked his ass off. Mm-hmm. He's the kind of guy that, like, if you tell him he can't do it, he will become the best person at doing that. So that's really enticing to be around somebody like that. For me, not really having to work for anything. And like, I think of like my teenage years and my early 20s was like doing my best to get away with doing the least work.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I really only cheated myself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I thought that was cool. So I needed to be in an environment like that. So learning about Tom in that first workshop before doing the 1 week intensive in New York City, and then eventually becoming part of his 2-year acting conservatory, I was really excited about working with him because the first book that we had to read was called, or it is called, The Four Agreements.
Oh, I love that book.
So to go to an acting school and that being your first text that you had to read, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't about acting, it's about living.
Right.
So that's his approach is living, not pretending, and not going along with, or not doing your best to get away with not doing the work. It's about doing the work and living your most authentic life, your most authentic self. So he has worked with incredible people from around the world. And we get this awesome list of reading that we need to do and recommended readings. So his principle is he works with the 15 guideposts that was created and written by Michael Shurtleff.
Okay.
That book called Audition.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got it in there.
Dude, so cool, right? So what's the relationship? What are you fighting for? And then a whole bunch of others. So I think Michael did the original 12, and then Tom was like, I have a couple too that I think would be very useful. And Michael saw them and was like, cool. I will sign these off and we can make them 15 guideposts, which is really cool. So it's doing that. I think Tom isn't a fan of one type of studying because it's kind of like, why would you limit yourself to only doing one kind of thing when you can learn about a whole bunch of different things and then find what works for you and put that in your toolbox.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, the main things are the 15 guideposts. That's his approach to acting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like breaking down the script.
Yeah. Right. And everything that you need is in the script, right? All the given circumstances. So he was in town a couple of weeks ago, and I sent out invitations to 100 people. You were one of them. And it's so cool to see him help actors break shit down. And a lot of the times, and I'm part of this too, is we can read something and we can perform it, or we see other people work on it, and we miss so many things that are in the text.
Right.
But Tom is so knowledgeable that he's like, okay, that sentence informed what the whole scene is about.
Right.
So if we skip that, then we're not going to get what this is about. If the actor doesn't get it, the audience isn't going to get it. Right. And it's just like, it's something that I think in every class that I've sat in, it's like mind blowing that like he can hear this thing once and be like, okay, you missed that thing. Like, how come you didn't do anything about that thing? And it's like, oh. So when an actor goes up to work with him, I for the most part, he'll do things where it's cold reading and kind of like cold reading competitions, not competitions, but like okay, these three sets of actors are going to do the same thing, and then we have to vote for who's the person that like who was the storyteller, like who's the one that gave us all of the information that we needed and had us feel certain feelings. And like, so that's a way that he's like, be a producer in the room. Like, who's the one that is telling the story? Who's the one that sells it, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. So we get to vote on who's the one that did it. Just repeating myself at this point. So those are all cold reads. But if you're working with Tom, you're given text, or you can bring your own text. So you've been working on it, but it's amazing how many times you can go over something and then not really get it. And some of these scenes aren't written by our world's greatest writers. Yeah. Because a lot of it is for what's happening in TV now. And it's like, okay, how do we approach this work that we're given when we go through the 15 guideposts? And that we work with like Tennessee Williams or Arthur Miller, or I love Arthur Miller. I also love Neil Simon.
Oh yeah.
They're not writing our TV scripts right now, so we have to break things down, and there's also that little bit of like, there's also a little bit of like finding out like what you would do versus everybody else. Right. So, like, how do you make your audition stand out.
Right.
Right.
How can you make it more personal? Kind of.
Sure. Yeah. Personal. Absolutely. But like, these casting directors are seeing the same stuff.
Right.
Actor after actor after actor. And they have to say the same things. Like I always find myself feeling for the person that's either behind the camera taping the audition, or sometimes, for callbacks, the directors are there for the most part. And it's like they have to say the same stuff over and over again. Okay, you're going to start, like yesterday I was in an audition. They're like, you're going to start from stage left. Okay, and then you're going to walk over here. You're going to deliver these lines. And then you go to stage right and you're going to look. And it's like, how many times did he say that today? That's annoying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the cool thing about working with the conservatory is we're getting classes in Alexander technique.
Give me a little, so I know a little bit about, it's a lot of posture to relax your body, right?
Right. It's learning, it's how you use your body and how our body is, I don't want to say the word supposed to be used, but how our body is meant. Use your body the way it's meant to be used.
Right.
So we had classes, like full day classes, where it's like, how do you sit in a chair? How do you get up out of a chair? And over the years, we put so much stress on our body and how we move our body. And it's like, there's a lot of unlearning that we need to do.
Because you develop bad habits to protect yourself and, hold on to things.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we got to work with Alexander technique, and then there was dialects, and then there's speech and voice, and where your tongue hits your mouth, and vocal warm-ups and Shakespeare, and I mean, we did so much stuff that I didn't even know existed.
Did you ever have to do exercises where you speak from a different part of your body?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you want to hit all of the resonators, right?
It's amazing how saying the same line can change if you're saying it from your nose as opposed to if you're saying it from your crotch.
Yeah.
And it's audible. You can totally tell it.
Yeah, and the intention is different.
Right.
Everything about it is different. We took classes. We took Broadway dance classes, and we took movement classes. We had to learn the different levels of being drunk and moving like that.
I don't think I ever got that one, other than a director just saying, you can't find your center of balance. I'm like, I feel like there's a little more to play on.
Yeah, I mean, so I was watching something last night, and these actors were drinking, and I was like, they're drinking really fast, and I didn't see anything change in their behavior. I mean, I have one sip, and I'm already comfortable, very comfortable. So it's really just okay, 1 through 10, where are you in your drinking and in that phase of drinking, and how long have you been drinking, and what was your state before you started drinking, right? Are you going to be a happy drunk? Are you going to be a sloppy drunk? Are you going to be an angry drunk? And then we worked with the Rasas. So that's with the same, that was with the same teacher. And we would, so it was okay, this part of the room is the part of wonder, and how would you move? And we'd have pictures on the ground, and we wouldn't imitate it, but we would feel the pictures, or angry or serious or warrior, and all of these just different ways to use your body and your voice and your intention. And there was just a multitude. I have all of my journals with all of my notes, and I say to myself, I'm going to get back to that and look over my stuff, because there's just so much that I learned.
Right.
So much.
Did you do any stage combat?
We did stage combat.
Yeah?
Yes, we did.
So what kind of stuff did you cover in stage combat?
Can I tell you? The first thing we had to do in stage combat was learning how to fall, and it freaked me out.
Why?
I fall a lot, but I was really scared. I was really scared to fall backwards.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It really I was crying about it. There was something there. I don't know why I was so vulnerable about it. And I finally did it, and I was like, that wasn't so bad. But there's something so scary about falling backwards. I don't know. I don't know. We got to work with knives and daggers.
Yes. Oh, that was one of my favorites.
I'm sure we must have done like a handgun. Maybe we didn't. Or maybe we saw like, this is what you could do.
Right.
But it was a whole bunch of like we'd have to walk, you'd partner up with somebody and you'd have to, it was all of these like combinations of,
oh yeah,
dagger, like fist, like block, this, that.
I know the dagger one I learned was 12-point Taiwanese knife fighting.
Wow.
Where it's like, there's one that was like, whoosh, whoosh. You like rip the jaw off. There's one where you go into the ribs and go whoosh. Like my stage combat teacher, he used to be like special forces or Green Beret or something. So he like actually knew how to kill people. But we were learning it in terms of acting, so doing it safe. So we learned a bit of judo, like throwing people, and that also helped with knowing how to fall without hurting yourself. Yes. We did one day with handguns with like blanks. We used like a big fucking revolver, and I've shot guns before growing up out in the country, but no handgun has ever kicked like this. Thing went bam.
Oh my gosh.
Like you had to move your face. And then a lot of emphasis on swordplay. Rapiers. Do you do
I don't think we did that.
No. That's exercise.
What is the size of a rapier?
Three Musketeers sword.
No, we didn't do that.
Yeah. It's that little thin one that kind of wobbles a bit.
No.
Like fencing.
Like fencing. Oh, no.
Although fencing is a little bit thinner. It's more wobbly, but these are, it's about like that wide, and then it goes off to a point. Lots of stabbing. It's mostly a stabbing thing. And then you've got a pommel and a hand guard, and you have to like crouch down and hold it out the whole time, and it's not light.
Oh my gosh. I mean, even
exercise.
Just like putting your hands out like this. Do you remember you had to do that in grade school for a little bit?
Oh yeah.
You had to do that in dance, and it's like, yeah, whatever. And like a minute later, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can I put my hands down now? My arms.
So and
we did improv.
Oh, tell me about improv.
Improv. So fun. Just games.
Was it like
and clown work?
Oh, you got to do clown work?
Yes.
Did you do clown suicide?
I don't think we did clown suicide.
It's where you try to kill yourself, but it keeps going wrong. You keep failing.
No. And I'm thinking of, because we had to, create a lot of our own things. I don't think anybody did that. No, man, I got reamed for my clown work.
Clowning's fucking hard. Were the teachers kind of intense, kind of mean, snappy?
I don't think we had snappy teachers, but we had pros that were expecting a lot out of us.
Right.
And I don't think we had, it was like, if you didn't get there, the door was locked and we were fucked.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think that was like a teacher thing. I think that was a Tom thing. It was like, get your shit together and get there on time. We had fun teachers. Everybody was fun and had so much to give. Legit professionals.
Yeah. So, but why'd you get reamed for clowning?
So the clowning thing was really hard for me. So in my acting, I've had a lot of the feedback for me, and I had this in college when I was just like tapping into it before, like when I was in California and a teenager, and it was like, Giselle, you're too sure of yourself. You need to let go. And I'm like, okay.
But like, what exactly does that mean?
And then, so for the clown thing, it was like, you, I think it was a little bit of the letting go, and that I like wanted to be showy and that I wanted to perform.
Right.
And like, our teacher would be like, aren't you tired? I'm like, no, it feels good. Like I wouldn't surrender to something, and that I wanted to like, it was...
You weren't being totally honest because you wanted to be right. Or you wanted to kind of please somehow.
Okay, so the pleasing,
I'm projecting my own stuff.
is a big thing, but I guess I just didn't want to be defeated.
Yeah,
I think is what it is, and I'm so good at like going along with stuff that if somebody tells me, okay, now run back and forth, and like I wouldn't just say, like I remember her saying like, aren't you tired? I'm like, no, it feels good, but like we couldn't. I don't think we were vocalizing. I think we had like sounds that we could do. But I remember feeling like so, like there's only been a few times in my life with like a grade or a project where I'm like, yo, what the heck is this? Like, these are all of the things that I did that like I really fought for like my perspective. Mm-hmm. And that was the like that was the only time I did that with the 2-year thing where I was like, I don't understand why you kept telling me this and why, like I was really emotional about it. Like I remember like calling my husband and crying to him about it and like writing the teacher a super huge email about, I don't even know. I probably have that email, so I should look into it. And I just remember, I don't know, I think part of it is that I tend to present myself in a certain way. And
what way?
It's more, I don't know if I can describe it.
Amiable?
No. I think when I'm in a performance space, I want to be presentable.
Right.
And so I think a few times I've had people say like, it's okay to be ugly. And I'm like, I know.
But you still keep doing the thing?
Not really. I mean, like I can let go and I can get very ugly and I'm not afraid of that. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. Like who's telling me that? So, like, I'm not afraid of ugly. I've got so much ugly. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, you know?
Is it sometimes that maybe the person telling you is sort of maybe they're missing something?
Oh, I guess that's a possibility. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think I keep picturing like me in a dress and like heels and lipstick and like walking a certain way is like the way that I can describe when they're like
acting. Is it that like
it's
like
acting,
you're
but
acting
it's like,
instead of being?
It's not quite that, but I think it's just like a role that I've given myself in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's since like I don't know. I think it's like a confidence thing. Or like I think I'm special in certain ways, so I play that up. Mm-hmm. And maybe with the acting and being thing, maybe it's like I'm allowing that to get in the way of what's really going on. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. It's a comfort thing. I've got the same problems too. I find like
challenges.
My challenges.
I think that's something I picked up with the conservatory. It's like problems and challenges.
Challenges. One of my biggest challenges is the anxiety. It's just relaxing. I know if I can get my body to just relax, which is tough when it's going fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And like adrenaline's going crazy. If I can just get my body to relax, then I know I'll be able to be, you know? And then another thing, and part of the problem with not being able to relax is the fear that I'm not going to be able to do this right or do it well. I don't know that I'll be able to like get there. You know, it's tough.
Yeah.
And I wish maybe this is just me being lazy. Maybe I could find the means, but I wish I had the means to get into a class to maybe help with that. Cause that's like, you know.
Well, you know what you could do means wise is find a class where you can audit. You know, a lot of the classes are like hours and hours long.
Right.
In these places.
Yeah.
And you can audit with the intention of wanting to take class. I mean, you want to take class. You just probably don't know when you can. And there's info that you can pick up that you could start practicing.
Yeah.
Some of those things, you know, that you pick up from there.
The last class I was in I learned so much. It was definitely like a course correction. Took a Meisner class. And I'd studied Meisner before. And I knew I needed like a course correction. And I did get that, but I know that I didn't do as well in that class as I know I can. And as I know I've done. And
why is that?
I didn't feel entirely, for lack of a better word, safe. I didn't feel entirely comfortable. It was kind of like act. The instructor, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of yelling.
I mean, that's just like, how are you going to...
I know, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like, I had that like safe, secure space to, you know, actually let go and get to a point where my world flips over, you know, character-wise. Or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This was like, okay, act. And like the last Meisner class I took, like the teacher, I loved it. And that's, it was extremely formative for me. And at the beginning of every class, he always took a few minutes for us to just like meditate.
Yes, and very important.
Get grounded, get in the space. And he would say the same thing at the beginning of every class. He'd say, this is a safe space. There's nothing outside of this room. No world outside. Time doesn't exist. You don't have to be anywhere else. And your schedule, your worries, that doesn't exist anymore. All there is...
Setting you up for success right there.
What's right here in this room. Yeah. In the more recent class, we didn't get that.
Course correction?
Yes, because I was falling back into some young man habits.
Previous habits.
Right,
sure.
of acting. You know, of just acting and not being observant and just trying to perform. And definitely, I was in this class for 4 months, and I did enjoy it.
Oh, no, this is the one before.
No, the recent one, the one that I considered like my course correction, and also, I also had to check my my intentions because I was kind of hoping like maybe I can get into this class and meet some people and start getting into some short films and actually start getting some work.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that can get distracting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So I didn't really, this instructor didn't really take the time at the beginning of class to like really set up that grounding, you know, space. So that was kind of difficult. And like my hands started shaking more than I've ever shaken before. I mean, I've had fucking panic attacks, but I've never, I mean, I've been able to hold a cup and not do this.
Yeah.
And I was doing that all of a sudden.
That's one thing.
And that instructor, they could see it. And I had talked to this person before being accepted into the class, talked about like...
This is what's going on in your life.
My life and where I've been, like my experience thus far. And I could tell that they knew what I am capable of, but...
They didn't know how to tap into that.
I think they did. It's just the approach didn't necessarily work for me.
And so, if it doesn't work, then their job is to find another approach, right? Or you find somebody else that can do it.
This person kind of yells and snaps. And You know, I don't think that's a great way.
I mean, we had like, I'm sure that is not a great way. And, you know, going back to my upbringing and how I raised my child, like.
Right. Someone tries to take like a tough love approach. It's like, fuck you. Do not talk to me in that tone.
Yeah.
Like, treat me with some fucking respect. Absolutely. Like I'm giving you respect.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, I'm in those 16 months that I was in school, I'm sure we had like one or two times where a teacher was like, just couldn't take it, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you know, we're human. We do that. But that wasn't the approach to the teaching at all.
Like, for example, there'd be like someone who had never acted before. And yes, it's frustrating to see someone. It's like, oh, this is excruciating because the thing with acting is it's so fucking easy, but the hard part is figuring out how fucking easy it is. Just getting out of your way, out of your way, out of your way.
That's all it is getting out of your way.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the easiest fucking thing. Just get out of your way.
Dude.
And then watching someone who's never done it before and being someone who has some experience, it's like, you just want to yell. And then this instructor would be like, no, don't fucking blah, blah. You know, it's like, this feels like abuse. It feels like you're taking your shit out on us. Absolutely. So that's kind of what it was like.
So that was your last time being in a class setting?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But I learned a lot. And I definitely understand what you're talking about with auditing. You learn just as much, if not more, watching other people.
Yeah. If you're an actor, highly recommend the book Audition by Michael Shurtleff. Mm-hmm. I got mine at Half Price Books. Love Half Price Books. Also, I mentioned The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, so good.
So, do you know in order what they are? I don't know what they are in order.
I do. I read the book and it inspired me so much that I wrote them out.
Awesome. So is number one...
And I've got them pinned on the wall at the foot of the bed.
Can you... What's number one? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to tell them?
Well, yeah. No. I just wanted to know what number one was.
Number one is be impeccable with your word. Number 2 is...
Is it always? Or do your...
No, that's the same thing.
Never.
Number 2 is... Well, I had it before.
Sorry. Never make assumptions.
Never make assumptions. This is number 2.
Awesome.
Number 3, don't take anything personally. And then number 4,
always do your best.
And your best will change from
every
day to day. Yeah.
Yes.
Whether if you're sick, healthy.
And the point of the 4 agreements is to live a life with needless suffering.
Right.
We all put all this suffering on us that we don't need to have.
Without needless suffering.
Yeah.
It's very much like Buddhism or so many other things.
And it's Don Miguel, I think it's the Toltec wisdom.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's very simple. Those are very simple ways. Yeah, it's simple to say it.
Right.
But with all the conditioning that we've had growing up in society.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it's doable and it's rewarding. And I was sharing with my daughter, and so sometimes she'd be like, Mom, don't take things personal or be impeccable with your word. Mm-hmm. And it's a quick read. I read it in weeks.
Short. Oh,
it was so healing.
Yeah.
And so he talks about how to live your life honest, but don't live other people's expectations. And because when we are born, we don't have any choices for ourselves. We don't choose our family. We don't choose our language, our religion, our name, and where we're born. Like all of that is given to us. Mm-hmm. And so at what point in your life can you become your own person? Right. And so that was so healing. And I called my parents right away and I was like, guys, I'm going to send you this book. Read it. It's so...
You're that person. But if you read that book, it's like you become that person. It's like, you got to read this.
Oh, I buy extra.
Have you heard the word?
Oh my gosh. I buy extra and will hand them out to people.
It's so important. Read it.
You can get it at the library if you don't want to buy it.
My favorite thing about constantly studying acting is, I've always said this from when I started freshman year of college is when I started getting into it.
Cool.
learning how to act is learning how to human.
Yo, yes. Next time Tom comes into town, it's about being a human being. That's what acting is. It's being a professional human being.
I'll definitely audit. If I can't afford the thing, I'll definitely audit.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think our time's up. You got anything you want to plug? Your social media, your husband's, anything?
This weekend, I don't know when this will be available.
This will come out like Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm at the point of the year where I'm starting to calm down with all of my projects, which is really great because the last 2 years I was working and rehearsing and doing plays, and it's harder on the holidays. So now I'm home. My daughter is just wrapped up doing one play, the one-act play, the UIL. Her and her school won the championship for their school zone. And she's been in rehearsal for the school musical. So she's busy. So I'm there for her. And then my husband has just been getting ready for East, which is the second weekend. It has just happened, which would be tomorrow and the next day, Saturday, Sunday, 23, 24.
The East Austin
studio tour. But he has work up at Volcom Garden, which is on East 6th and Waller. So he did this really cool project with some of his best friends. And the show is called Paper Telephone, and it's 5 of them. And what they did was they created a piece of artwork and then sent that to the next person. So everybody did that and sent it to the next person. And they didn't draw on top of each other's stuff like he's done with other friends, but they just created their own rendition of what that is, and it's all very different and all very beautiful. So that's up, Paper Telephone. I don't know how long, so check that out. And then holidays are here. Be kind to each other. If you got anything extra, give it to the homeless. Blankets. Ooh, I read somewhere, if you so I'm kind of purging and going through my garage, and we have a big garage, and I want to make that a acting/dance studio with mirrors, and I want to get a piano in there. But this is really great for women. If you need to get rid of any of your bags, put feminine products in there and maybe some snacks and some wipes, and you can just hand the purse to homeless women. We're out of town this week, but volunteering is really awesome during the holidays. What else? What should we do in our lives? How can we help others?
You could help me keep this show running and making it better and better by donating via my Patreon account, which is at patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. You can donate as little as $1 a month if you want. That's awesome. All the money goes toward somehow making this show better and better gear, whatever else. Patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. If you have a story or subject you'd like me to cover on the show, if you need some advice I can cover on the show, if you just want to say hi, send me an email at thatthingwithjames@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is @JamesJAsher. And
my Instagram is The Good Shop. I like to take pictures so you can see them there. You guys, I was at an audition a couple of weeks ago, and there was a 7 and 10-year-old talking about what their Instagram was.
Oh my God.
And then I just said it right now that my Instagram is this. Yeah.
That's the world we live in now.
Yeah. I don't let my daughter have social media just yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If I were a parent.
I mean, it's hard in our,
we grew up without it.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But in our business, we have to have it.
You have to have it. I wish I didn't need it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it.
But, I've met some incredible people on there. We have, incredible family friends now that we met on Instagram.
That's great.
What up, Milena? What up, Scotty? New York, Brooklyn.
And subscribe to this show. YouTubers, subscribe to the channel. Like the videos you like. Write a comment. And for all of you, please share the show with your friends. And that's it. Thank you so much for returning. I
we
love
could do this all day.
I know.
We really can.
I know. I wish we didn't have to.
I want to like be a little bit more specific with some of the things. So that's.
Maybe we could put a pin in it. You can return sometime.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Giselle.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.